This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to be here helping you with playing the guitar. This is lesson 2 in this lesson series that is all about strumming patterns and strumming principles. So it's going to be great. In this lesson, we're going to build on what we did in the last lesson. So in the last lesson, in the first lesson, I introduced the fact that the reason we have a strumming pattern is that it creates the groove of a song. A lot of times on the guitar, when we're strumming, we're actually capturing sort of the whole groove that we're playing that song with at a given moment. When we're playing with a band, sometimes we're not actually involved in the whole groove, but we're actually just playing a piece of it. As I go through here, I'm mostly going through strumming patterns that kind of capture the whole groove, because most of us are just, playing and having a good time with ourselves or with another friend or more than one friend, but we're usually doing the whole strumming pattern. And if not, if we're playing with a band, then it just takes pieces of the pattern anyway, so we're fully well covered. Now, in the last lesson, we went over whole notes, half notes, dotted half notes, and quarter notes, and I explained some of the contributing factors to a strumming pattern and then worked through a few examples in that. So, there are 4 things that contribute to a strumming pattern. The first one is the meter or time feel, and right now we're working in 4/4 time because that's the most common time feel, having 4 beats per measure. That's the most common time feel that we play music in. So we'll get some foundational principles and kind of get it under our fingertips here, get some understanding happening, and then we'll get into all sorts of different meters: 9/8, 12/8, 7/8, 5/8, 6/8, 3/4, 2/4, and so on and so forth. So we're adding in 8th notes here, and we're in 4/4 time. The second thing that contributes to a strumming pattern is the rhythms. And for this one, we're just doing all 8th notes. So we're going to have 8 8th notes in that measure. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just that simple. But there are 2 other things that contribute. One is the strumming direction, and the other one is how we treat each note or each rhythmic value. Are we strumming and letting it ring? Are we accenting it by strumming harder? Are we palm muting? Are we cutting off the end or letting it ring over? There's all sorts of things with how we treat each note that contribute to the strumming pattern. So with this rhythmic value up here, where we've got the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, I'm going to give us 4 variations based on the strumming direction and the treatment of the notes that is super fun, which will give us 4 different versions that we actually use and can use when we're playing different music. And I've got a chord progression up here on the board that we can work through it with. So we're just going to dive in here with the strumming direction. We're going to do all down strums. Now, there's a lot of things that can happen when we have all down strums, but if we were to just play on an A and let it ring over, it's kind of not all that exciting, at least not to me. But if we change the treatment of those notes and we add in some accenting, it becomes kind of fun with this. You want to get used to it. If you're not used to strumming like that, you may want to get used to it. If you don't know how to play the chords, you're going to want to go through the Guitar 101 mini course that covers chords and strumming first. This one just takes strumming to the next level beyond what that one introduces. So if you're new to the guitar, you want to go there first. I'm not going to go over the chords here. We're just going to look at these strumming patterns though. So if we just are ringing this all downs, there might be a time, some sort of song somewhere that sounds cool for, but we're actually going to look at it a little different by treating the notes a little different. We can kind of get a rock beat going. A lot of times when I'm playing, I imagine the sound of the overall drum groove of a song and figure out how to sort of capture that with a strumming pattern on the guitar. So if I kind of can start to control a little bit, add an accent on beat 3, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. I said beat 3, but what I really should have said was on the 3rd 8th note, so beat 2 and then beat 4, the 3rd 8th note over here, so 1 and 2 and 3 chords ring over, and that sounds okay. If we took through the chord progression like that, we'd have 1, 2, ready, and we'd have A. Now that's letting the chords ring over the top of each other. It's kind of cool to do this one with what we call a palm mute, where I take the palm of my hand and set it right on the saddle, so just over the strings. So I still can hear the chord, but it's not ringing open. It's got a little bit of a mute to it. If I add that here, and therefore I'm controlling and not letting the strings ring over, it's kind of nice. Sometimes on that accented one I lift off. Now I'm going to add, when I'm doing one like that in first position, I'm actually not keeping the palm of my hand down the whole time. Though I could. What I'm actually doing is just bouncing with each strum. So I'm going to the palm muting position, coming on each time, instead of just letting it sit there. So it becomes a full-on bounce. Now that one's pretty cool, I think. On the guitar, it kind of gets sort of an acoustic rock sort of sound. So when we have chords in the first position and I want that sort of a sound, then I kind of need to control those open strings, and the palm mute is a great way to do it. I can also collapse with my left hand a little bit. Now, if we were playing power chords, I'll still go to A. So my index finger's at the 5th fret, just playing power chords here. D, my index finger's at the 5th fret, but I've changed the shape, and then my E is 2 frets higher. I shouldn't say I've changed the shape, I've moved to a different set of strings. If you need help with power chords, there's a quick answer video. There's videos in other mini-series that can get you going there. But if I do it here, open, power chords. I can also do the palm muting. So that is one example shown in a couple different ways. You could also use bar chords. This gives you a little bit of chance to control where the strings ring when we go up to bar chords, because we don't have any open strings ringing, but same kind of thing. Might change it up. When it's open, it's going to sound different than when I'm playing first position. So there's one variation. We have another variation. We can stick to all down strums, but if we change up the accenting, it will change things. So I'm going to put an accent on the first 8th note, and on the 4th 8th note, and then on the 7th 8th note. It's going to be 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 4, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll do that with this chord progression with the chords ringing open like that. You go 1, 2, ready, and... palm muting, we'd have 1, 2, ready, and. To the power chords. If you're not playing along with me, you're welcome to play along with me. One of the best ways to sort of ingrain style and sound is just to play right along with professionals like myself. So you're welcome to do that, or if you just want to hear it and then try and copy it, that's cool too. Here it is in the power chords. 1, 2, ready, and. With palm muting, 2, ready, and. Cool. And we could, of course, do it with. We could do it with bar chords. Now, with bar chords, there's another aspect that can come into this, and that because you can control if the chords ring over by holding them down. Or in my left hand, I can choose to lift up sometimes, which cuts off the end of it so they're not ringing over. And sometimes when I'm doing that, actually, when I'm playing with a bar chord, I will have some of the strumming be against the muted strings just from my hand, touching the strings but not pressing them down. And I'm just pressing down right at the moment where I'm accenting. So on the 1st, 4th, and 7th, 8th note. See, I have 1, 2, ready, and. There's lots of variations that can be there with that. If you were playing an electric, had a little distortion, you're going to have a real rock guitar sound. On the acoustic, of course, it sounds kind of like acoustic rock, which I love acoustic guitars because they have so much resonance. I just love the acoustic side of things. We do play electric as well. So I can hear that distortion if I was playing in a song that would make sense for. Okay. So that's a second variation. If we take a look at a third variation, I'm going to move into changing up the strumming direction. So if we get into the types of strumming patterns that we do a lot of on guitar, we're going to have a combination of down strums and up strums. So this particular rhythm lends itself really well to do down up strumming. So just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. The change in the strumming direction will change the strumming pattern just sort of slightly, and it gives this different feel to it, so it sort of changes up the groove. I also say, like, besides just that fact there, this one is really great. Just this exercise of down, up, down, up, down, up strumming really helps lock in our strumming arm, strumming hand, keeping a really great technique there. Relaxed shoulder. I've had some lessons on the Technique Tuesday tidbit lessons where I go over strumming technique, finger plucking technique, and so on. So I'm not going to redo that here. We'll read about the rhythm and the variations, the things that we can do. But I'll mention that. So this is really good for establishing a really good right arm technique. So I'm going to play through this chord progression, just letting them ring over. 1, 2, ready, and we got A. A palm mute with something like this is a little bit harder. usually ends up happening for me, I find, is that the up strum is not as palm muted, but you could do it. It's just tricky. So I'll palm mute more on the down strums, and maybe the up will be just a little bit more open. 2, ready, and yeah. With that, did a little hammer on with the chord in the left hand there at the end. With that, I'm also getting, because I'm going for like the palm mute on the down and having my hand land on it as I'm strumming, I'm actually getting a little bit of a slap strumming technique happening, where I'm slapping the strings with the palm as I'm strumming. So, creates another percussive variation. So 1, 2, ready, and... I can do these same kinds of things with the movable chords, so like the power chords. If I was doing it with the down up, I would probably just let it ring over. Creates kind of a drive. 2, 3, 4. If I do the bar chords, I can play again with squeezing my left hand to cut off and choke. So I can change up sort of how the strumming comes. I'm especially sort of squeezing on that up strum and kind of having the down strum be against the muted strings. So there's no groove, there's no song. That's what I always like to say, and there's so many different ones that we can create. That's one of the reasons I love the guitar and love rhythm guitar. So another variation, when we got all these 8th notes, I'm going to change up the rhythm a little bit. So when we have 8th notes back to back, we can do the strumming pattern with even 8th notes or swung 8th notes. So what I just did was with even 8th notes or straight 8th notes. That means the 8th notes are spaced the same distance apart. When we swing the 8th note rhythm, we're actually going to take those on the off beat, and we're going to push them further back into the beat, and it's going to sound like this. There's a delay to the up strum. This creates another sort of fun groove to play. Play it with this chord progression here. A 1, a 2, a ready, and yeah. I can add in some accenting on beats 2 and 4. It's like a wing, a whack, a wing, a whack. Super fun. If I take that up to the... I'm going to keep that accenting in there. And I can go ahead and do it. Now what I'm doing here is lifting off right before that accent. So I'm letting it ring, and then right there on that one I am lifting off with my left hand to help with that accent. So So as I release right after I've strummed, it sort of cuts off the end of it, doesn't let it ring over, adds a little variation to that strumming pattern. Release right there. Release right there. And actually, to help with the release, the palm of my hand is actually grabbing the strings too. We're right in the right hand. So it's like there's like a full-on mute, nothing's getting through. 2, ready, and without the accenting, and if I was just letting it ring. Alrighty, so there are 4 variations on what would seem to be a very simple rhythm, and then I added some different ones in depending on the types of chords I was playing. Lots of different sounds that create this slightly different groove. So fun on the guitar. Those can be applied to songs. One of the fun things to do with a song is to apply a new groove to it. It sort of brings a song to life in a different way. It's one of the fun ways to arrange a song. You can also just have fun playing rhythm. I could play rhythm guitar, I think, all day just having fun doing this, which is partially why I'm here, to have fun with you. So, hope that helps, gives you a lot of different ideas to play with and some techniques to work on. In the next lesson, we're going to look at some variations when we have both 8th notes and quarter notes. So many of the foundational, fundamental strumming patterns that we start with on the guitar have a combination of quarter notes and 8th notes. In the next lesson, so lesson 3, I'm going to go through the 4 most common ones that we have. We can look at some different ways to play them as well. We're going to look at those 4 foundational ones for 4/4 time. It's going to be great. Take care, and we'll see you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.